Mhm. Oh, oh dear. Oh, oh, hello there. Just a bit of light reading. So, welcome to the British Bizarro Community Christmas Ghost Story Extravaganza. We have some nice things for you today. 4 bone-chilling tales from such authors as Madeline Swan, Danny Brown, Chris Meekings, and myself. So get comfortable and enjoy. And one little minor note before we start. There is an issue with my audio during the video, so I'll pop in at the end in customary garb, and you can hear it from me, myself, and I.
Yeah, Christmas live stream. In the back of her mind, Janelle had long known that her boyfriend Max didn't have her best interests at heart. The money missing from the top drawer in October was testament to that. Unfortunately, the front part of her mind wouldn't listen. She'd had a bad day. She tried not to be pissed off at the sight of Max pretending not to be stoned on the settee. Good day at work? She asked. Yeah. Still getting on all right there? Yeah. You? For a second, she wondered how he would have gotten back from the office before her, but didn't want to think too much about it. Not bad, she said. I spoke to Adele about the extra shifts. Max sat up straight. We won't need to do that. Eh? What about presents and train fare? If we turn up at Mum's without Christmas stuff for the kids, they'll kill us. We will, he said. Just trust me. And he pulled a Ouija board from the drawer of the side table. Janelle flopped onto the settee beside him. Not the live streams, she moaned. Why not? We sit on our asses for a few hours watching telly, and the viewers get to look at ghosts. They'll be bothering us, dangling limbs in our faces or something. So what? They can't touch us. Just ignore them. He had that sour look again, the one he got when she disagreed. Don't be annoyed. I'm not, he whined. She got up and removed her coat and shoes. You going to be asleep by 9 again? Janelle stiffened, tempted to argue back, deciding she was too tired. Fine, she said. What do we have to do? Really? He excitedly pulled the board from its box and laid it on the table. We make contact and call any ghosts in the area to join us. Then they're trapped until we free them. The first few nights were exactly as Max had described. He set up a camera in the front room. They watched telly and tried to ignore the various ghouls that did actually wave limbs in their faces. Oddly, though, Janelle really enjoyed herself. Just knowing that the Christmas money problem was solved and that Max could feel like he was helping gave her that rare feeling that she was in a good, normal relationship with someone who was nice to her. Then, on the 4th night, she woke with a jolt. It took her several minutes to work out that she was in bed, that she was Janelle, and that there was a voice droning the jingle for Glitter Queen eyeshadow. Perhaps she's born with natural beauty. Perhaps she's a glitter queen, sparkle cutie. The culprit was a luminous figure holding his severed head in his hands. What the fuck is that? Janelle squealed. Why are you shouting? Max grumbled. Oh, that. We get extra if we play ads. How is the ghost doing it? Just ask it to when you summon it. It has to. Janelle noticed the camera above the bed, which would definitely have been filming the entire room, including her. She leapt up. I'm sleeping downstairs. Whatever. Work was a struggle. She sent a half-written article to the head writer at Pumps, a business magazine for shoe manufacturers, followed by an apology and the correct file. By the time the bus pulled up to her stop at the end of the day, she'd decided not to complain any more about ghosts. In fact, they would spend the weekend at their friends Missy and Jacob and pretend to be normal for a few hours. She got off the bus and called Jacob. Hi, he said, just about to get on the tube. I won't keep you. You guys around this weekend? No, sorry, we're going to my aunt's. Can you remind Max to bring my jumper next time you come? Yep, okay. She tried to think of a time he'd borrowed it. He must have had that ages, sorry. No, don't worry, just last Monday. Yep, will do, bye, said Janelle tightly. Last Monday, when he was supposed to be at work, he stomped home and relayed what Jacob had said. We're on Christmas break, you know that, he said, offended. No, you never said that. I asked how work was, and you said fine. No, you asked how my day was, and I said fine. Janelle's brain was in a washing machine. Is that how it had gone? She studied him as though a sign would pop up saying truth or lies. She took the path of least resistance. Right, okay. They made dinner together, made each other laugh, and sat down to watch telly, ignoring the wailing and moaning of the dead. When they went upstairs, Janelle couldn't help glancing towards the mirror. The ad read had begun, this time by a nude ghost in a bathing cap and a long-legged, striped swimsuit. Water dripped from her and disappeared before it hit the floor. Her voice sounded as though it came from watery lungs. If you love your dog, you'll feed him only one thing. Janelle covered her head with the pillow. Again, she woke with a start. Before she had time to process reality, she was faced with a wild-eyed man kneeling beside the bed, wearing a cloak and triangular hat decorated with sun, moon, and stars. Women are blessed with the cup of Venus. If left unchecked, they will destroy all in their path. But when nurtured and guided into their true roles, they will find their connection to the Great Mother. Max, Janelle snapped, did you order a sexist? They wanted to see an occult ghost, he said. He's being sexist. Yeah, we get extra for that. Again, Janelle stormed out of bed and pulled on her dressing gown. Drama queen, said Max, turning sharply away from her. Artistic talent lies in the ball, said the occult ghost. When his wife properly assists him, great heights can be reached for them both. I'll bog off, you nonce. Janelle collapsed on the settee downstairs and checked her phone, noticing a text sent last night. Hi, Janelle, having trouble getting hold of Max. Could I have the other half of the rent on Friday? Panic tore through her. She checked the time, 7 a.m. Hoping it wasn't too early, she called their landlord. Hi, Lorenzo. Sorry, the other half of the rent? Yes, Max said it would only be a week, but I haven't been able to get hold of him. End of this week is fine, she said quickly. After hanging up, she stared at the coffee table for a long time. What had Max done with the other half of the rent? She checked the room for cameras. The one above the settee was off, and there didn't seem to be any others. Then she carefully laid out the Ouija board and summoned a feminist poltergeist for 2 hours' time. She packed up the board and got ready for work, humming Beyonce. And that's it.
Don't know about you, I'm fucking scared. That was Madeline Swan. Round of applause, I assume. Next up, we have Danny Brown with a rather festive jumper tale.
Yeah. Make sure it's still up on my iPad. Maybe. There it is. Let's see. Okay, so this is a scene from the Ghost of Fashion Past. So it's part of what will eventually be a much longer piece. A pile of dirty fur sat on top of the stone by the side of the road. Humid air pressed down on the creature, flattening both his neck and ear fins. Beads of moisture pooled into droplets and dripped down his broken scales. Yet the fur looked dry. Orange light shone down from above, bathing the scene in a dirty halo. Wind howled through the trees. The orange light flickered and took back its dirty halo. Fallen leaves curled at their edges and twisted around, blow-dried by the howling wind. It picked them up and carried them down the road, but it didn't touch the pile of dirty fur. The humidity returned, gathering as moisture beads on the coffin stone until they were fat enough to drip into the crevices. Orange orbs hovered, twisting around the branches and twinkling like a set of broken fairy lights set to sparkle in only one color. The fur was never given back its dirty orange glow. Wet footprints provided a soggy soundtrack as they appeared in the dirt. Far-off voices, like radio out tune, whispered to each other. They called one another mean names. Sometimes these were clearly heard, even on the main road that ran next to the Hidden Corpse Highway, along with a horse galloping alongside, or the strange orange lights that appeared between the trees only to zoom away. Other times the voices came through as something pressing on brain cells and traveling down nerves. The shore creature paused and stuck out a long finger. Wind licked the webbing and pulled at the strands of polyester he tied around his wrists. Distant voices pulled on those loose threads on his Christmas jumper. The wind tasted his fins and the spikes that sparkled on top of each of them with indifference. Once it died down, moisture beads reappeared and dripped down the collar of his jumper. He dropped his sack on moist leaves with blow-dried edges. They sighed at the weight. Wet clothes carried in from the beach, modern clothes made with modern fabrics. The corpse road hadn't seen them before. Orange light illuminated the pile of fur, twinkling its encouragement. An argument between still humidity and angry wind wouldn't allow for another halo. The wind pulled, humidity pushed with whispers of get the fuck off my leaves. The pile of fur twinkled without its halo. The creature couldn't resist temptation any longer. Cold and damp stone greeted the creature's hands with their extra long fingers and wide pads. Beads of moisture. I'll change that. Beads of moisture dripped down the rocks' crevices where the wind refused to reach. He tried to force his forked tongue beyond his mouth, but his fused lips wouldn't allow it, so he settled for a sniff. Pointy elbows straightened, polyester sleeves swallowed his wrists as he reached for the fur. His long fingers held a faint green glow beyond the polyester bells and reindeer machine knitted onto his salvaged Christmas jumper. He was allowed this one garment because the original owner had died. The fork in his tongue poked against his lips, searching for the weak spot in the fusing as his finger pads made their clumsy dance across the coffin's stone. He scooped up some fur with a pause to think about how he'd get past his fused lips. Half the fork in his tongue found the corner of his mouth, while the other half continued to poke at the center of his lips. The wind threatened to take away his finger pad's scoop of fur, but settled instead with stirring the path's leaves. The footsteps stopped, as if the creatures they belonged to wanted to watch this outsider sample the fur. The horse and rider paused too, the form forever threatened by the wind that blew down the long corpse road. Polyester rolled up his arms as he raised his glowing green fingers to the corners of his lips. The wide pads scooped up extra roadside fur. The fins on his neck stood out as he tasted it. Barbs on the end leaked venom and twinkled in the orb light. His forked tongue pushed at the fused lips. One half of the fork to each side, it found pieces of fur and pulled it further into his mouth, tasting each morsel on the way down. A fresh breeze blew down the Hidden Corpse Road, carrying with it the taste of the sea and seagull shit. The orange orbs bounced. Silence gave a pregnant ball gag to the soggy footsteps. A horse and rider stood back from the scene as an eerie white glow twisted and pulled by the constant fight between humidity and wind. The first stirred as the creature went in for another taste. His neck fins stiffened. He pulled his hand back with his other hand wrapped around his wrist. Dangles of polyester string caught the stray fur and wouldn't let go. The wind picked up fallen pieces of fur and dropped them with the others. It tugged at the pieces clinging onto the creature's polyester. Dirt fell from the fur as it lifted off the stone. Paws inflated with muscle and bone that wasn't there before. The creature fell back on its long legs, neck gills poking out and wobbly knees at odd angles. Fur hung from the fused skin of its lips. The wind tickled the creature's fins as it lifted what remained of the fur and placed it on the coffin's stone. From the paws, legs appeared, pulling in fur and sucking in life from the stone. The creature pushed itself back with its webbed feet. Its tail spine caught on the polyester Christmas jumper salvaged from the sea. A few threads came loose. The snout inflated necks, orange orbs hovered closer. Horse hooves plopped somewhere along the old Hidden Corpse Road. Wind pulled strands of fur from the creature's lips. It couldn't release the fused green skin. The orange orbs twinkled as if they were from a broken string of fairy lights set only on one color. The creature stuck its long fingers into the corner of its mouth and pried at the fused skin with no luck. The last few strands of fur landed on the dog, regrowing on the stone. Bells chimed from somewhere near the entrance of the old quartz road. The horse sounded closer. The words its rider spoke remixed themselves on the wind and joined the chorus of out-of-tune radio sounds. The dog stood up on the stone and barked. The creature shook, with the earth responding with a shaking of its own. It tried to stand, but became tangled in its own webbed toes and polyester clothing salvaged from the shore and worn with permission from the higher-ups. The dog jumped off the coffin stone, landing only a foot away from the shore creature, tail wagging. It slobbered, humidity beaded on its tongue. A lonely bell chimed. The dog's wagging tail hit the creature's sack of waterlogged, fast-fashing Christmas joy. The shore creature pulled it away, but the dog had it in its sights. It dug its teeth into the cheap plastic and entered a tug-of-war with the creature. Friendly tail wagging suggested the dog thought it was a game. The creature expressed his displeasure by shooting neck fin venom into the humid air. Ribbons of toxins couldn't kill that what was already dead. It landed on the moist leaves and the blow-dried edges with a diluted sizzle and no spark. The bag ripped, strewing waterlogged clothes across the corpse road. The dog bounced around with excitement. Orange orbs lost their flicker and illuminated the scene. The creature fell to his webbed hands and knees and tried to gather up what he could. He was on a quota. Return so many garments to the rightful owners before Christmas morning, or he'd be fired from the Santa Claus Cheerful Elves team. Tail wagging, the dog saw this gathering of clothing as a game, too. The creature stood up and watched the dog. It did a good job, illuminated by the orange glow, but he left all of his spare sacks on the beach. He'd have to go back for more. The creature walked away. By the time the dog noticed, all of the clothes were gathered into a pile in the middle of the corpse road. It trotted to catch up with the creature. More bells chimed from the road's entrance. A different horse galloped closer. A flickering shimmer weaving through the humid air occasionally looked equestrian with a uniformed rider, until his flesh melted off with a lack of preparation for his new type of warfare. A seagull flew overhead, screaming at the wind as it sucked the bird onto the corpse road. The bells went crazy with their chimes. Old ones woke up that hadn't been heard in centuries. The humidity stripped the seagull of its feathers. The wind came in for another go and tasted fresh flesh. The chimes came in, calling out for the troops. Jealousy churned them out of tune. Radio voices stitched together with static came for the scraps as it fell to the moist leaves and blow-dried edges. Once every last piece of the seagull was devoured, it took flight again, but it couldn't leave the hidden corpse road. Its mates called from the beach. It flew to the entrance, only to be forced back. Humidity couldn't pluck those feathers. Wind couldn't harvest the flesh. The voices came, the voices went. Stag pierced them every time they returned, so a different chorus sang. The creature watched, his forked tongue poked at the fused lips. Moisture beaded on his fins. The dog sat by his feet, tail wagging, until he walked over the barrier between the corpse road and piss-soaked alley. A rat greeted the shore creature on the other side. He turned around and saw the faint shimmer of the shape of a dog with a tail wagging, promising to wait. So that's it for now.
Thank you, Danny, for that. On my third pair of trousers. Lovely. Next up we have Chris Meekins, who I'm sure this tale is very family friendly and just full of warmth and joy.
I think so, if everyone can hear me. Yep, okay.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle, I got things working. Right. Oh, right. Second person. You begin to type as part of your December writing workshop exercise. You don't have a lot of time before it's due, so this will have to be a good first draft. The pressure is on. This is where you prove if you're a writer or not. Words cross the page and form sentences, spinning out and out, further and further. The words form a picture. You are pleased. The ice cream man is becoming real. You smile as he begins to walk and talk and think. You draw his ice cream head in words and describe his wafer body. The words are not quite the right words. They don't quite do the ice cream man justice, but they are the best that you can do. You make his head strawberry flavored and give him cool shades to hide his eyes from the world. These are some nice shades, he says. Thank you, you reply. You give him a large whippy quiff and a flake to finish him off. This is wrong. You change your mind. Ice cream men are so last week. This is a December workshop. It needs to be wintry, Christmassy even. Maybe a ghost? Yeah, ghost stories are Christmassy. But you don't know anything about ghosts. Shit. You should write about something else, like a snowflake man. Snowflake men are cool and hip and possibly political, maybe. Probably not. Bizarro is political, but picking on snowflakes seems off-brand. Well, never mind. He's just a snowflake man. No political stuff. No way. This is now a Christmas story. That'll probably sell somewhere, right? Everyone likes a hastily written Christmas story. It can go into a crappy anthology or something. Snowflake Man pauses and looks around at his unthought-of world in a very non-politically judgmental way. What shall we do? He asks. I'm not sure, you say. You haven't really thought about that much. All I had was a character. I never really thought of a plot. And I changed my mind on the characters, so now I've got nothing else right now. The Snowflake Man folds his arms across his melty chest, showing his frustration. Well, cat, says the Snowflake Man in a voice full of jive, you'd better start to think of things for me to do. You pause. What should he do? After all, you are now responsible for the existence of the Snowflake Man, even if it is only on the page. You called him into being. Quickly, you write out a street for him to exist on. It's not much of a street. It has a pavement and a road and some apartment blocks which go up and up beyond the scope of the story. Wait, does it have a pavement or a sidewalk? Where does this story take place? Hey, man, I think I sound more American than anything else. The pavement becomes a sidewalk. You smile. Decisions are good. The bins become trash cans. There are now fire hydrants, and the people drive on the other side of the road. There are several crashes causing lots of death, but that's just background stuff. The Snowflake Man begins to walk in a stilted swagger reminiscent of pimp daddies. This is more like it, says the Snowflake Man. But I think I still need stuff to do. You don't really know what to do. What can a Snowflake Man do? You're proud of the creation. It's very bizarro. But the story still needs more. Garrett Cook reads on. He's quite impressed with what you've done so far in the exercise. Snowflake men are good ideas. There's a good potential for some existential crisis from melting. Not bad so far, he says. But you will have to introduce conflict at some point. What does a Snowflake Man want? What does does he have snowflake children? Does he have a snowflake wife? Wife? Asked the Snowflake Man, pausing in his never-ending pimp roll down the Ouroboros street. I ain't no jive turkey with no wife. Give me some fine hose. Careful, scolds Garrett. You're wandering into time pimp territory. That's 2013 Bizarro. 2013 Bizarro is over, and 2013 Bizarro doesn't have any idea what's happened since then. You must stand on your own 2 feet. Think forward. You sigh, and dial back the jive talk. It was probably racist anyway. You have no business writing ethnic characters. You decide to have a word with your upbringing, but that's for a later date. The Snowflake Man stands steadfast. I want some bitches. Fuck it. The character wants to be a stereotype. Maybe it can be post-racist? So unracist that you can do racism ironically. Maybe, if you squint at it really hard. Maybe not. You'll have to work on that in the second draft. More conflict, commands Garrett. Use the dissonance. You listen to more Miles Davis as he screams on his trumpet. Miles Davis is part of the exercise. You listen to the same album again and again and again. Come on, says Garrett. He's beginning to get angry. He takes off his large pimp-style purple fedora and slams it down on his desk in frustration at the story which is stalling. Introduce a conflict or danger. Do something. Your mind is blank. What can a snowflake man do? Come on, you useless fucker. Give me some bitches. The snowflake man stamps his foot in frustration, and a section of strawberry goo runs down his head and drops to the floor. He's still an ice cream man underneath. Fuck it. You're not a very convincing writer. You double down on the snowflake man. His head is frosty and also made of Christmas... Oh, crap. You'll have to work on that on the second draft, too. Introduce some danger, says Garrett, an evil glint appearing in his eye. Pull a gun on him. What? You ask. I don't want to pull a gun on him. Garrett begins to write. This is my house, says Garrett, and we do things differently here. You reach down to the side of your keyboard and pull, weasel. Good, smiles Garrett. Weasels are good, better than guns. You stare in fear as your own hand points the semi-automatic weasel at the snowflake man. Hey, man, what you doing? No need for all of that. I was just messing about the hose. You do what you like. Yes, good, good. Garrett's face cracks into an evil grin. He looks like the Emperor from Star Wars, but the Star Wars of 2013, with no sequel trilogy disappointments. Dark shadows grow about Garrett as he types. Conflict is good. Weasel guns are good. Finally, we know what the snowflake man wants. He wants to live. You feel your finger squeeze the trigger. You resist. You don't want to kill the snowflake man. Please, you beg Garrett. He's my character. I don't want him to die. I want him to have a life. Yeah, man, listen to him. I haven't had nothing to do yet, sweats the snowflake man. Nope, says Garrett. Fucker's gotta die. He had his chance and he did nothing. His concept was okay, but his character was just a stupid copy of Time Pimp. You pull the trigger and the weasel spits aquarium gravel. The snowflake man staggers back, 2 holes in his chest. Ideas come flowing out in a thick black tar. They pour onto the ground, becoming carousels, circus freaks, paper aeroplanes carrying dinosaurs to their holiday destinations, hieroglyphs describing the original recipe for wonton soup, and a crab making marzipan, where they come in contact with the unwritten page. No, you scream. No, no, no. Garrett, you bastard. He was mine. He was my own little Bizarro man. Garrett says nothing. He just types. The snowflake man is fading fast. He's just a misspelling away from the backspace button. Hey, man, it was nice to be for a little bit. He pulls his shades off, showing his tear-filled eyes. Hey, man, he chokes in one final breath. Don't let Garrett do this to you, too. You stare at the blank page. There is no more snowflake man. You look at the weasel in your hand. It's not a weasel now, it's a pen. You take it and write on the screen. Act 1, Scene 1, a writer sits at his desk and begins to write in the second person. He thinks this is a clever new thing to do. He is wrong. Garrett Cook smiles as you write in pen on your computer. He's typing hard. He's replaced his purple pimp fedora on his head. Sweat is beading on his brow as he furiously writes your life. You're scared. You thought Garrett was your friend. You didn't know that you were just a character he was writing. Yep, says Garrett. You're my plaything, my puppet. It's my house. I can make you go left. You feel your body lurch to the left in a drunken sway. Or right. You counter-sway to the right. Glove puppet, chortles Garrett. Naked now. Your clothes are gone. As are your genitals. Sexless you stand. First, a girl? Your breasts burst from your chest like buds in bloom. The nipples are hard in the cold wind. Your hair is down around your ears. Your waist is hourglass-shaped. Then a boy! Your penis and testicles slap against your upper thigh. Your ears are cold as you have no hair to cover them. Your chest is muscled. Stop this, you cry. Why, puppet? You're mine. All your life, your hope and dreams. They pop into your head. Your need for a house made of teeth, with a white picket fence, and a jar of mayonnaise to call your own, and a dog who's a man on the end of a telephone who once told you the secret to Santa Claus's murder. No, these are not thoughts. These are not your thoughts. They just appear, unbidden. You need to write a book. Write a book. Write a book. Wait, that seems more original, more you. Garrett is sweating now, trying to stamp out the last bit of you and replace it with the written you. It's all Garrett bleeding into you, forcing you to be the things that he wants you to be and not the things that you are. You reach between your legs and feel Garrett's thick, hairy wrist as it sticks up your bum. Ass, bum, ass, where is this new fucking story set? Glove puppet, screams Garrett again. You feel Garrett's hand deep inside your innards, pulling you, twisting you. No, stop it, stop it. Puppets should have zippers for mouths. You feel your mouth sewn shut by the metal zipper. You reach up and pull back the zipper. Garrett, you ask. Yes, puppet, says Garrett. If I'm your puppet, who's controlling you? What? He asks. Cogs whir in his mind. It can't be, could it? Oh, fuck, says Garrett. He reaches between his legs. His hands shake and quiver. He hears his blood pulse in his ears. It can't be true. It mustn't be true. He reaches and he feels the wrist of the hand shoved up his bum.
Oh, thank you, Chris, for that. Right, on to my story. Right. You're in for a treat now. I call this tale The Possession of the Ghost Margaret. That's a terrible title. We'll go on, we'll see how it goes. Before I begin, I feel it's put upon oneself to describe the process of superdeath. Yes, even in strange eons, death may die, by murder. If another ghost totally shanks another ghost, then it can die, becoming a spirit derived from nothing more than spite and anguish, a free-floating, feral malevolence, a spirit comprised of screams and violence. I, Father Marcus Bigwood, have seen in my dreadfully long life a lot of strange things. As an exorcist, that was expected. The haunting spectral underworld is aloof with odd things. However, as a prolific pervert, I have seen far more strange things. To use however 3 times in a row. However, this was a first. I stood in the foyer of the sandy-cracked mansion on that cold Christmas Eve, holy water in one hand and my weathered journal in the other, staring at what appeared to be 2 ghosts fighting over the same spectral form, both naked to the waist, both seemingly phasing in and out of one another, both chests flipping and flopping about. My only regret at that moment was I didn't have any soapy water. You see, the regular ghost, our lovely Margaret, had been haunting the place since 1873. Very proper lady, absolutely perfect norks. Started acting all strange last Tuesday. Started howling like a banshee and climbing the walls, literally climbing them. She'd never done that before. Usually she just slapped me for chanting some dirty rugby songs at her, as one does. Now, upon seeing Margaret and this unknown assailant grappling with each other, it became apparent that I was witnessing some sort of unwanted possession. Another ghost trying to possess its spectral kin. Well, the 500 English pounds I'd spent on my certificate of completion at the online exorcism university had not gone to waste. Pulling out my phone, I quickly googled ghost possessing ghost before realising how ridiculous that was. Nothing in that 10-minute YouTube video could have prepared me for this. Church Bastard 69 had extensive lists of viral videos for demon possessing humans, but ghost on ghost possession, that was new territory even for him. My thoughts went back to Margaret, watching her expertly sock the other spirits in the chops. My trousers seemingly didn't fit anymore. She was always such a dignified spirit, floating through the library, reorganising books, occasionally playing the piano and trying to avoid my lustful gaze. But now she needed the ghost in the groin. I could see that she was hiding a ferocity beyond even which I thought she was capable of. I opened my journal, flipping through pages of carefully documented supernatural encounters. Of course, now I could see that her attacker was a victim of superdeath. The furious red eyes and the animalistic way she kept drooling ectoplasm on the walls all but confirmed it. The fight pushed them upstairs through the ceiling. The crash from upstairs made me jump, and my bulging downstairs passenger, receded back into myself. I closed my journal with a snap. Right then, I suppose I should go sort this bothersome mess out. Can't have my girl being possessed like this, I said to the mansion, which I totally own and am not squatting in. The grand staircase creaked under my feet as I ascended, each step bringing me closer to the sound of otherworldly growling. My expertise usually involved helping spirits find peace or move on, or perform some dastardly perverse deed that I could film and put on certain gentlemen's interest websites at $19.99 a pop. This, whatever this was, wasn't viewer-friendly at all. I'd built quite a reputation in the supernatural pervert community for my unconventional methods and surprisingly high success rate, though I'm sure the church often raised eyebrows at the reports I insisted on sending them, despite the frequent returns and attempts to arrest me by constantly sending around the coppers. Temperature dropped dramatically on the second floor. I could see my breath forming little clouds in the air, and the wallpaper was beginning to frost over. Classic signs of spectral activity. But much stronger than usual. I think you'll agree. I pulled out a tangle of wires and running motors, my cobbled-together EMF meter, which immediately started screaming with whoops and wails. This was odd, that it didn't have a speaker attached. "Margaret," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady, and, other ghost, I'm here to help." Response was immediate and violent. A figure materialized at the end of the hallway, a Victorian-era woman in a high-necked dress ripped to shreds. I could see some nipples. Something was wrong with her form. It flickered and distorted, sometimes appearing proper and composed, other times wild and bestial, her face shifting between a gentle aristocratic disapproval and something that looked like it lived in the woods for centuries, ready for a good seeing to. "Well," I muttered, "that's not something you see well at all. No, this isn't proper at all." The ghosts turned to face me. Margaret's proper Victorian posture warred with the feral spirit's hunched predatory stance. She opened her mouth, and two voices emerged simultaneously. "Please help me, good sir. Blood and darkness and big jobs." I pulled out my phone again, this time to record the phenomenon. My academic papers on supernatural occurrences were already controversial enough. Too many crudely drawn nethers. But no one was going to believe this without evidence, hence the recording. "Fascinating," I said in my video recording habits and putting on my faux ghost-hunting cadence. "It appears the two spectral energies are competing for dominance within the same protoplasmic form. The metaphysical implications alone." The ghosts launched themselves at me. Barely managing to stop the fighting coalescing spirits, I leapt into a nearby bedroom. Shame the door wasn't open. The entity crashed into the wall of said bedroom, ignoring the broken, splintered door, before exiting through the wall behind me, leaving frost patterns in the shape of two half-formed struggling figures. Right, less theorizing, more exercising," I muttered, fumbling through my pockets looking for supplies. But which exorcism rite would work on ghosts possessing another ghost? This definitely wasn't covered anywhere on ectofuckers.com. For the next few hours, I tried everything in my considerable arsenal. Traditional exorcism rites seemed to agitate both spirits equally. Holy water passed right through them. Celtic spirit bonding chants just made them laugh. Well, Margaret's side laughed politely, while the feral ghost cackled manically. And I even flashed my bum at them, which just elucidated sighs of disgust equal in measure. The task seemed impossible. It wasn't until I was sitting on the stairs, exhausted and running out of options, that I had an epiphany. I'd been treating this like two separate entities, but metaphysically speaking, they'd become a new one form of spectral energy. There wasn't any need for an exorcism. They needed spiritual couples counseling. "Ladies," I said, standing up and straightening my collar that I got a really good deal on, "I think we're going about this all wrong. Margaret, you've been haunting this house for over a century because it's your home, correct?" The ghosts paused their latest attempt to rearrange the furniture with telekinesis. The proper side of their shared face nodded. "And you," I addressed the feral spirit, "you were just looking for a place to settle, weren't you? Somewhere to call your own after who knows how long wandering the wilds in your super dead state." The beast just growled, but it seemed more contemplative than aggressive. "What if," I continued, "instead of fighting for control, you two work together? This house isn't certainly big enough for two ghosts, and I think of the advantages, Margaret. You could keep the place proper and organized while still having someone to let loose with occasionally. And you, wild spirit, would have a home base for your more energetic activities." I said, hoping that those energetic activities would involve a gelatin-based pudding and less clothes than I was expecting. The entity tilted his head, considering the possibility. The two sides of his face had a silent conversation that involved a lot of meaningful looks and raised eyebrows. Finally they spoke. The voices still overlapped, but somehow more harmonious. "We might be amenable to such an arrangement. Hunting grounds and proper tea times. I smiled. Excellent. Now let's work on separating you two so you can haunt the mansion properly as roommates rather than whatever this is. I have a few theories about resonant spiritual frequencies too. The ghost separated with a pop, sending out a blast of cold air that knocked me back onto the stairs. When I looked up, adjusting my comically large, oversized glasses, I saw two distinct figures floating in the hallway. Margaret, now fully herself again, smothered down in a spectral dress. Well, that was certainly an experience, and I must admit, it was rather exhilarating at times. The feral ghost, now revealed to be a wild-haired woman in what might have been caveman clothing, grinned with too many teeth, that I hope didn't bite too hard. Territory claimed, expectable hunting grounds. We need to work on our inside voices, Margaret said primly, then turned to me. Thank you, Father Bigwood. Would you care to stay for tea? I can't actually serve it, of course, but I do enjoy maintaining the ritual. I didn't correct her that I wasn't part of the church. I just found the vestments to be exciting. And perhaps we could discuss your other cases, the feral ghost added, her voice slightly less thunderous and surprisingly coherent this late into the story. I find myself curious about all the sorts of chaos you've encountered. I checked my watch that I had hung on the wall. My next appointment wasn't until tomorrow. Helping in a shoot where a rather overweight man dressed as Santa would let a certain part of his anatomy be possessed by several dead squirrels. This event, however, was definitely going in my journal. Ladies, I would be delighted, I replied, licking my lips at the possibilities. As I followed the two ghosts to the parlour, I couldn't help but smile. In my line of work, you have to expect the unexpected. Sometimes that meant dealing with demons or angry poltergeists wanting their extra pay for a deed too vile to mention here. And sometimes it meant playing supernatural mediator between a Victorian ghost and a feral counterpart. Mrs. Henderson, my housekeeper, found us all there an hour later, two ghosts and an exorcist, having what appeared to be a lovely tea party, even though no one could actually drink the tea. It brings me out in terrible hives. She quietly closed the door, leaving us to our musings. Just another day in the life of an unconventional exorcist, I heard her say to herself from beyond the door. Oh, if she only knew how unconventional I really was. Thank you.